Graph Concepts. Presented by Team VR Samurai Pub. Introduction to Graphs. Tree versus graph. Trees represent relationships between things, but those relationships are always hierarchical. Child nodes are under their parents and at the same level as their siblings. Graph. Represented relationship, in less strict way. For example, the train transportation network. Graph. Terminology. In a graph, each of the elements that are connected together, transit stations, courses, people, etc., is called a vertex, plural is vertices. The connections between the vertices are called edges. Depending on what we are trying to represent, an edge might be a one-way connection or a two-way connection. A graph that has one-way connections is called a directed graph. A graph where edges do not have any direction is called an undirected graph. In an undirected graph, if vertex A is connected to vertex B, then vertex B is also connected to vertex A. This is not necessarily true for a directed graph. Edges in a directed graph are sometimes called arcs. We tend to draw pictures of graphs to help us understand them. However, another way to completely describe a graph is as a set of vertices plus a set of edges. The edges are ordered pairs of vertices such that the first vertex is the start of an edge and the second is the end of an edge. For undirected graphs, we list each edge only once, in either direction, with the understanding that the edge can be traversed in either direction. More graph terminology. There are many special terms we use when talking about graphs. Implementing the GraphADT. Adjacency matrix. Most useful when the graph is very dense. The adjacency matrix implementation is easy to understand, but it has two disadvantages. It can only handle a fixed number of vertices. For large graphs, it takes more memory than the alternative, adjacency lists, because there are cells in the matrix for every possible combination of vertices. So to find out whether two vertices, U, V, are adjacent, we simply check the cell edges, U, V. Notice that since the above example is a directed graph, the matrix is asymmetric. If we swap the rows and columns, it would not be the same. An undirected graph will have a symmetric matrix, that is, cell U, V, and cell V, U, will always have the same value. Adjacency list. As an alternative to an adjacency matrix implementation, we can use an adjacency list. We actually need two lists, one of vertex structures and the other to record which vertices are adjacent to each vertex. Like all linked lists, we will build the adjacency list by dynamically allocating vertex T structures when we add new vertices, and VREF-T structures when we add edges. Traversing graph. There are also several ways to traverse a graph. The most important are called breadth-first traversal, which is similar to level-order traversal in a tree, and depth-first traversal, which is similar to post-order traversal in a tree. Note: every traversal needs to specify a starting vertex. Furthermore, the results may vary depending on the starting point. Breadth-first traversal. Basically, this algorithm looks at all the vertices one hop, edge, away from the start. When they have all been visited, we start looking at the vertices one hop from the first adjacent vertex visited, and so on. Depth-first traversal. Depth-first traversal. We choose an adjacent vertex, then an adjacent vertex to the vertex, and so on, following a connected path until 1. We reach a vertex that has no adjacent vertices, or 2. We reach a vertex we have already visited. Then we back up to the previous vertex and explore further. This is quite similar to a post-order tree traversal. Unlike breadth-first traversal, depth-first traversal is usually repeated, selecting new vertices as the starting vertices, so all vertices will eventually be visited. Thank you for listening.